everybody, it's AJ here with KD8LDE Presents. Today I wanted to talk about something that I'm pretty good at, I know a lot about. For the longest time I've had an HF station. I've rarely used it, and the reason I've rarely used it is because, well, I live in a condo here, and basically to have an HF station you have to have a really big antenna. And frankly, it's just not something that's conceivable to have around here at all. The one solution that I had tried to do was to have a VoIP station. And I was not getting very good results. I was not really finding a very good solution as to, well, to communicate with the site where my radio actually is. Before I had an old Dell computer. It was just there. It basically hosted what I needed to do to log in, and it worked as a server. But what would happen a lot of the time is that it would hang up, it would lock up. I mean, it was Windows after all. I mean, go figure that one. And I could never find a Linux or other solution that would keep it, you know, just stable. So basically, after a while in searching, I tried to find a solution that would work for me. Oh, excuse me. And there was this one solution. There was a company that's called Microbit AB, and this is what they have. They have this little gem. Yes. Well, it comes in pairs, and it's what they call their RemoteRig RRC 1258 Mark II. And like I said, comes in pairs, so there's one at my remote site that's at least 30 minutes away from me. So with this box over here, I can then control my radio basically from my desk right here. And there's probably a lot of other amateur operators who have wondered, like, how can they do this? Where can they get such a thing like that? And basically, you just do a search for this box, this RRC 1258, and you'll come up. It's a very powerful box. It's a very amazing box too. So in this video, I am basically going to show you how I set it up, how I configured it, and what you need to do to get your station running remotely. So if you don't have the space like I do to actually have a whole station and no yard, no nothing, well, this is probably going to be for you. It's a really powerful box. So in this maybe 4 or 5 parts, we'll see how it goes. You'll see how powerful this box is in the way of the remote connection, the sound. We're not really going to get into the CW or the Morse code, as some people would call it, seeing I haven't really messed with that. I don't have any real desire for that. And as well, also note, there's different routers, different ways to go about configuring your hardware. I'm not going to really get into that. I know everybody probably has different routers and different things like that, so I'm not going to be talking about that. And the configuration that I will be talking about here is the radio that I have, which is a Kenwood TS480HX, and how I configured that one. So if you do have like an ICOM Yaesu or other brand like that, definitely on their website, on Microbit's website, on RemoteRig.com, it will definitely show you what you need to do to configure those radios. So if you know, that basically clears up what I'm going to be talking about here in this first part, is how to set up this box on this side, on the control side, so you can use it right from your computer, and with the control head from the TS480. So without any further ado, here we go. So welcome back. Now I have my RCC 1258, the control box as they call it, here on my desk. And now we'll go very slow, and we'll show you what needs to be done first. Now, rudimentarily and the most easiest thing that you will need to do is, of course, apply power to it. And obviously, I think most of you will know where the power is. And there you go. Just let it boot up, and that green light will flash. That's okay. Just let it see if it's trying to synchronize to your internet connection, to your router, and so on. That's what it's trying to do. If it's continually flashing green like that, well, mine won't. Mine will go off after a while and actually sync up. Well, see, there you go. If it does continue to flash green as it does, just means that your internet settings are not properly set. Now, I don't have a hardwired connection. The company Microbit actually sells a Wi-Fi module, and that's why it has the antenna that you have to open up the case and install yourself and drill out the hole for it. If you are lucky, it'll actually have the hole pre-drilled, and there'll just be a little stopper you have to push out. But mine has been saw by the Wi-Fi. It's into the network, and that part for me is good to go. But for you, who is possibly watching and wondering, like, well, what do I do now? Well, it's very simple. Unit is basically USB, and all you got to do now, seeing out of these 4 connections here, is to take your USB connection and just plug it right underneath where the green LED is. And like so, you are now connected to your box. There is a piece of software here that I will show you now that will get you started with that. So if you've come this far, now we've gotten into the good stuff. Your unit is powered on. Green light should still be flashing. It's okay. Your LAN has not been configured for the box, the control box yet. And the control box should be connected via USB. So here's the next part of what goes on. You're going to go here to the Microbit Setup Manager and open that sucker up. Alright, and as you see, it's already connected, knows all about it, knows about your version, your firmware, bootloader, so on and so forth, and ta-da! There you go. You're basically talking to it. This is basically for setting up new firmware. If there's any updates that come on, check out the Microbit website. Just Google search that. Not too difficult. RemoteRig.com. So then we come to the setup of your control box. So this is all that you do. Only one button, get from device. And as you click that, well, here's all your settings. In this case, what you want is your control box to be DHCP. At this point, it doesn't matter. For the control side of things, let it be DHCP. That's fine. Not a big deal at all. What you do want, however, is that when you do have your radio box connected to your radio and whatever router you're working with on that remote side that you're trying to connect to, it's best to have that be static. Have all the addressing be static. When it is dynamic or using the DHCP addressing, there's no way that you will be able to connect to that remote site, considering that your address will always be constantly changing. And yes, there is 2 ways around that, and I will get to that in just a little bit. But at the moment right now, you have your LAN configured. This is the control box. Here it is, nice and neat, and that's it. The other thing I will say is that if both your when you're initially configuring, I should start out first, is that when you're configuring both boxes, the control box and your radio box, if they are on the same Ethernet when you're configuring the initial setup, you can access them both.
So if you went here to go find devices, it would come up with the control box and the radio box and ask you which one you wanted to look at. You would know the difference of which is which by the serial numbers. Both serial numbers are different, so there is no confusion. And make sure, of course, you write it down so you know which is which. And so you can go in here and you can just take a look at your stuff. That's about it. The other two here, Wi-Fi, this is for me. I got the module in here, hence you saw the antenna, and I had to drill out the hole, insert the module into it. That's what everybody has to do with theirs. That's just how it works. Basically inside that tab, which is right here, you just make sure you have your SSID and the password for that SSID for your Wi-Fi network so it can associate. Once that is in place, your green light will stop flashing and it will be associated just like so. The next thing is the serial port, and the serial port tab is for something different. It's for another application that Microbit has. I'm not too sure what the web switch is. It may be for a laptop or something like that, but no, this is something that we just don't use. It's not necessary to even get involved with that, not for the application that we are doing. So what I want to do now right at this moment is get back to, here it is, net info and find. So seeing that we only have the control box associated with the LAN here, what we're going to do now is go to browse unit via Ethernet. Oh, well, what's going to happen here? Oh, it's going to let us do it after all. Well, sometimes I surprise myself. Let's see if we can get a better window here. Oh, there we go. There we go. If you all can see this. So this is the web configuration part of the more of an advanced technique that you can do. Basically, it's where all the other settings are hiding. So yes, you will have to go in here. So make sure you remember what the address is of your control box, because that will be dynamic. It may change, but what will stay constant is your web port. And remember to enter that into the address bar when you are doing this advanced configuration. So here's all the information about the box that I have. As you can see, very technical. Just basically what it is, what it's done, stuff that it's packets that have gone back and forth, things like that. And then just here's the status of it. It says the control box is on, radio's off, and this goes over. And this uses two protocols: the SIP and the RTP, real-time protocol. And everything that you are going to use in the way of forwarding your ports is going to be UDP. It does not need, see, I'm sorry about that. I just needed to make this a little smaller so you can see everything. It's going to use UDP, which is not session oriented. It doesn't care where the packets are going during the connection. It's just spitting them out there. It's just spitting them. If they get lost, oh well, they'll just resend. UDP is the way to go. UDP is what you need to do. Basically, here's your IP settings that you had when you configured it initially through the Windows program. That program right there. Yeah, and that's it really. What you will do on the radio box, the box is connected to whatever radio you have that you've chose, is that you will be connecting, getting that remote link via dynamic DNS. Now, this does mean that you can have an external service for the dynamic DNS. However, you don't have to. I know they're costing money nowadays, and there's not a lot of free ones out there. I know of a few. I know of one that I had used initially in my setup was noip.com or .org. It's one of those two, and that's still free. You can use that. You can put it in there. Make sure you know your password, your username, what it requires to establish the remote link for your radio type. However, that's a good choice. I use it. I like it too. However, seeing your radio box is going to be static. Well, the thing that you can do is that instead of have in the IP section, which will look similar, just like this, is that for your IP, instead of it being a private IP address, you can put in a static IP, a static public IP address, and that will be all. That's all you would ever have to do. But with that as being said, you would get that public static IP address from your internet provider, whoever that is, again, and make sure you would have the correct subnet mask, gateway, and DNS server. If you get all that information from your internet service provider, you don't even need to worry about you don't have to worry about dynamic DNS. You have a public IP. You have a public IP. It's out there. It's addressable. It's routable. It'll look for it via the ports that you will have to forward in your router as well too. And the ports that you will have to forward, as I will show you here. Okay, make sure you forward ports 13,000 to 13,002. That's all you need to forward. Nothing more. That's it. There is no remote management, so you don't have to worry about whatever your web port is. That doesn't need to be forwarded at all because there is no remote management. It's all local to where you are. So make sure these are forwarded to where your radio box exists and where your home router exists that you're using to connect to it. So those ports are forward 13,000 to 13,002. That's it. Ta-da! And with any luck, it should be good. It should work for you. No other reason why it shouldn't. But when you're configuring this further here, for the radio settings, really make sure for the radio, make sure all this matches. Okay? The programming mode that you do want to be in, depending on who you are, again, as you can see, a lot of different settings here for Yaesu, Kenwood, Lcraft, ICOM. It really depends on who you are. But like I said, I have a TS480, and that's what I did. Of course, there's a SIP password for the audio and the control that's going to be passed through your network. You don't have to have a password. I liked having a password, and that worked for me. And then this is the contact. This is where it's being pointed to, and as you can see, I'm using the dynamic DNS presently. I could use a public IP address, a static public IP address, but at the moment, this is what I'm using. Just leave all this alone. This is good. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You can change this to 57.6. I was just going by what was saying here in the settings help. I just changed it to there. Just leave all this be, and that's it. You're done. Well, I know you're probably saying, like, you're kidding me. There's got to be more. Nope. That's it. That is truly it. With that being said, I will now show you what will happen with my TS480. I have the control head here, and I will show you the last two connections for this part of the video. So be with you in a second.
So now it's come down to the moment of glory. Make sure, and this is very important if you have a Kenwood TS480. I didn't know this when I started out, but very important to know this. with the TS480, what I had to do is I had to have two patch cables that needed to be made up. One was an RJ11 connection that went to the control head socket on the radio, and the other one was actually in the box when I got it. It's an RJ45 connection, like a Cat5 cable basically, and that goes to the mic port. So basically those two patch cables are being patched from the radio box into the TS480 connections on the radio. So that's exactly what this is right here. With this that I have, this is for the control head, which you can see there on top of my scanner. So all you got to do is come here, whoops, and just plug it in like so, where it says TTL. If you can possibly see that, it says TTL. And that's what you need to do there. The other one is your Ethernet right here, RJ45, and as you can imagine, this is for your microphone. You plug your microphone right in here where it says aux mic, and that's what that is for. Just right in there. Alright, and that's it. So if you put the patch cables there from your radio to the actual TS480, addressed that, assigned everything, you're good to go. So then the moment of truth is basically this. Is come down to this. And as you'll see, if everything is all configured and working properly, this is what should happen. Wait a minute. And here you go. You hear a little beep, and on it comes. That's all you have to do. So when you do that, well, all I can say is happy amateur radio. If that's a saying, I don't think it really is. Enjoy yourself. Go out there, enjoy the airwaves if you have a TS480, and that's about it. Audio comes through. It's really it's pretty clear. Let me see here. Yeah, you can see there's already a net in progress, but as you can see, it's pretty good. So that's all that needs to be done on the control side of things. And just turn it off, just like it was sitting here right with you. And that's it. If anything, I'll try to in this video to show you a little picture about what you have to do, maybe at the beginning or at the end of this video, just so it's clear. It's not too difficult. Some port forwarding, some addressing, and simply that's it. So I guess the next question would be, what was that stereo cable for? Well, that's a very good question. What was that stereo cable for? And I can say simply that there is a little bit more to it. Yes, I know you saw the stereo cable, and I had that basically plugged into the front here to where it says SP for the speaker. There actually is audio coming out from here. But that will have to be for the next part of the video series. So until then, I'm probably going to have you hang in there. I'm pretty sure you might know what it's for, but until next part, I'll have to leave you off with that. Wow! And that was it. That was the first part of this series. I may have perhaps exaggerated a bit to say there's going to be 5 parts. I guess there was more I wanted to talk about that was technical, and as it turned out, it's not really a whole lot necessary. I guess there's only the configuration of the 2 boxes, some network settings, and than just the enjoyment of the box. But yes, there will be a part 2 to this. There's a little bit more that you will enjoy, and all I can say is that if you are a ham radio deluxe enthusiast, you're going to love what's going to come next. It's in the application for the setup that we have done, and I gotta say, it will blow you away. At the end of this video, I'm going to leave a little diagram perhaps of how it should all look, maybe a little block diagram, because I know you have the remote side and then the control side of things. Hopefully that made sense to you. It's how the VoIP and the ROIP basically work. I should have showed you the radio over, I'm sorry, not the radio, but the radio side of things, of what I did there. Perhaps I could show some pictures or something of what has to be done. But until then, I hope you enjoyed this part. Hope I didn't ramble or go nuts in trying to get out what I was saying. But if you did like it, you can comment, subscribe, please thumbs up if you can. That would be great. I know you can, but I would like it if you would. And you know, comments, just leave me some comments, whatever, you know how to do that. It's, you know, down in that area down below. So till then, stay tuned for part 2 next week. Take care, y'all. Bye.